Hey parents, David here, just to give you some more information, some more tools in your box to continue conversations with your kids. And today, what I wanted to bring up is making your house a safe place. Now, previously we talked about the adolescent brain and how the brain works, and how as our kids are younger, and the younger our kids are, the more help they need seeing the consequences of their actions, long-term and short-term consequences. And that continues into adolescence, that continues into the teenage years, and even into the early 20s. So although we don't want to hold their hand, we want to help them see the consequences of their actions. Why this is important is because when we're making our house a safe place, there's all kinds of messages from our society that are hitting our kids, and a lot of them are just untrue. And just to back that up, for example, if you ask your teenager, what does it feel like in high school? Does it feel like most people aren't having sex? Most people are having sex. I think, and from my experience, most people would say, yeah, everybody's having sex. But the truth is, according to the CDC's most recent statistics, most teenagers aren't having sex. So that's roughly about 60% of teenagers in high school are not having sex. Now, when you're talking about freshmen and sophomores, the numbers are much higher. It's more like the 80th percentile that aren't having sex. And as they get older, that goes down a little bit. But even still, most teenagers are not having sex. They're choosing not to have sex. So that being said, we want to let our kids know that nothing is off limits. There's no topic that's off limits in our house, that anything that you come and want to talk about with your parents, with us, is allowable. So now, making your house a safe place doesn't mean that there's no consequences. That doesn't mean that everything's permissible. But what it does mean is that kids can come and be their authentic self. They can come and express whatever they're feeling and not be judged, not be lashed out at. Again, not saying that there's no consequences, but there is a safe place to go. So this gives us an opportunity to speak truth into some of those lies that society's telling our kids, because we leave that door open always. So what does being a safe place mean? What that looks like is, even though the world may feel chaotic, it may feel dark, they still have somewhere to go to find rest. They still have somewhere to go to find safety. Now, that doesn't mean that all those things go away, all those difficulties go away. But what that does mean is there's a space to process that. There's a space to get help for those things and work through them alongside somebody, which we all need help at some point or another. That doesn't mean that we live a completely safe lifestyle, because we know in our faith, when we follow our God, He might lead us into some unsafe places. For example, another country or another culture that might not be friendly to our message, but that risk is worth it because we know our God is good. So although everything that we do might not be safe, we still have refuge and a safe place in our God, and we can offer that to our kids in our home as well. So even though life may be difficult, we can foster that environment to bring hope and rest to them. How we respond to our kids in a crisis moment really heavily contributes to this. So when our kids have made a mistake, for example, or maybe they're questioning something, maybe they're questioning something that you're asking them to do, or a why, a lot of times our tendency is to say, because I said so, or hey, don't question, just do as I'm telling you to do. And what that communicates to our kids is, I can't talk to you about this. I can't process this in front of you. So they're likely to return to you and process the heavier things. I know for me, if my child was questioning their faith, for example, which is a pretty big thing. I'd really like the opportunity to talk to them about that and inform that struggle that they're having internally. But if I've communicated by smaller previous instances that they can't come to me with questions or counter opinions, then I'm not going to have that opportunity. So it's very important to make sure that nothing is off the table to discuss. Again, you don't have to agree, but you leave the space to have those disagreements in a peaceful, constructive way. What does it look like to foster a safe environment? So one, make it a place where your kid can be their authentic self, where they can be vulnerable and not get judged for it, not get looked over for it. And a really important thing is vulnerability will lead to vulnerability. So you leading as a parent with vulnerability, with appropriate stuff, will lead to your kids also stepping out in that vulnerability. Another thing that you can do to get to know each other on a deeper level is take a personality test. You take it, have your kid, if they're old enough, take a personality test. For example, the Enneagram is one of them, and learn about each other, learn about your similarities, learn about your differences, and lean into them and really enjoy those things about each other. Another thing you can do is pick one family member per week and go around and everybody takes turns saying something they love about that person. And that really builds them up, and it will lead to meaningful, deep conversations in that way. One really important thing is to build emotional intelligence. Now you can Google EQ, emotional intelligence, and learn all about it. But what some of that looks like is make sure that you don't communicate that negative emotions are bad, because they're not. Usually our children just need help having a vocabulary to express their negative emotions. Ephesians 4:26 tells us to not sin in our anger. Now notice, it doesn't say don't be angry. It says don't sin in your anger. I tell my son, he's 6, all the time, hey, it's okay to be mad. We can talk about why you're mad. You just can't make bad choices because you're mad. So we want to give them the tools to process their emotion, good or negative. That way they can express it and have peace and foster that safe environment where they know we can talk about it. So all of this leads to deeper quality conversations with our kids. Remember, a safe house is not an overly permissive house. Everything is not allowed, but everything is on the table to talk about and discuss. There's nothing off limits to discuss. So thank you guys so much, and we hope you keep watching.